Now I know what you're thinking. Did he sing 14 songs? Or was it only 12? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of forgotten myself. But you want me to sing them again? Well, do you, punk? Welcome to the Tainted Tavern.
Welcome to the Tainted Tavern. Come sit inside with me.
You know, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Clint Eastwood? Is it the enigmatic drifter riding into town to clean up the town or seek revenge? Is it the maverick cop with a Magnum 44 and a downer on liberals? There's various things you could think of, but I tell you what you probably don't think of when you mention Clint Eastwood, and that is the pop star crooner. Now this album, Clint Eastwood Sings Cowboy Favorites, was released in 1963 at the height of Eastwood's popularity in the television series Rawhide. He was still a year from travelling over to Elmira in Spain and shooting A Fistful of Dollars with Sergio Leone, which turned him into a global superstar, which is a status that he remains to enjoy to the current day, well into his 90s. This was made, as I say, in 1963. And the reason I have it is because I'm a huge Eastwood fan, and when this was reissued on CD several years ago, I had to have it. I thought it's a bit of a curio, you know, it's a lovely collection. I'd love to get this on vinyl. I'd like to get an original of this on vinyl, then I'd frame the album cover and put it up in my office. I am a massive Eastwood fan. So I thought, okay, it'll be a curio. I mean, I didn't care what it's going to sound like. I don't associate Eastwood as a singer.
Roddy, why don't you go out and sing?
Yeah. You lost your mind or something? I can't sing to him.
Well, yeah, just sing like you do to the beeves. That's good enough.
Look, boys, those are cattle. These are people out here, and they got guns.
Although I was wrong, Eastwood has a very limited range, maybe vocally, but he can carry a tune. He's quite a good singer. In fact, he sang in an episode in season 4 of Rawhide. And watching that episode, you could almost be forgiven for thinking, oh, they've dubbed him. But no, that actually is Clint Eastwood singing.
The sun over the mountain.
And TV Western stars during the period, Westerns were huge on television, not only in the native America, but all around the world. Over here in the UK, every Sunday. And this is late, Dad. I mean, this was 1963. I was still 2 years away from being born when this came out. But when I was growing up in the mid-70s, TV Westerns were all over the television. Sunday afternoon on BBC One, we'd usually have an episode of Bonanza or the I Chaparral. Rawhide was often shown late in the evenings on ITV, the commercial network. So I grew up with TV Westerns, as no doubt did many of you watching this video right now. But during 1963, when this album was made, it wasn't unusual for TV actors to make albums which were used their popularity from their TV programs to release an album, you know, and sometimes it was successful. I mean, Lorne Greene of Bonanza was a wonderful singer. Clint Walker brought an album out. A lot of stars of TV Westerns brought albums out, but as I say, what is really surprising about this Clint Eastwood album is actually quite good. Now, the running order is Bouquet of Roses, Along the Santa Fe Trail, The Last Roundup, Sierra Nevada, Mescali Rose, Searching for Somewhere, I Love You More, Tumbling Tumbleweeds, Twilight on the Trail, San Antonio Rose, Don't Fence Me In, Are You Satisfied? That was the original running order of the original album. This later reissue features 2 other songs which were recorded at the same sessions, and that is Rowdy, which of course is a song which was written specifically for Clint Eastwood and his character Rowdy Yates, which he played in Rawhide, and the Cowboy wedding song. It's a really good album. Now, I've made some notes here to some subjects I want to talk about. So, now, I was always under the impression when I was younger because I've always been an Eastwood fan, but before I knew the way that Eastwood's timeline worked, I always thought that he made A Fistful of Dollars, the first of the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns, after he'd finished with Rawhide, but that actually wasn't the case. It was just the way they were released gave that impression, because it was during a break in between season 6 and 7 of Rawhide that Eastwood travelled over to Almeria in Spain to make the spaghetti western. Because his contract for Rawhide forbade him from making any movies in the US while his contract for Rawhide was in force. But there was a loophole. He could film outside of the US, so he did. He was reluctant to do it. He was paid, I'm sure, $15,000 for 11 weeks' work. And he took some of his Rawhide costume, his Rowdy Yates costume, over with him because the Leone movie was so low budget. And he went over and he made that movie, came back and then started work on season 7 of Rawhide before it was later cancelled. Now, swig of coffee. I'm on the coffee because it's early in the day, so I'm bereft of alcohol. And I think I'll smoke a bowl while I'm talking to you of Stormy South, which is the aromatic tobacco from Cop, which I'm quite enjoying. So yeah, the reason that I was under the impression that the spaghetti westerns, or A Fistful of Dollars, the first, was made after Rawhide, was because it took a long time for the movie to be released in America because of copyright problems, because A Fistful of Dollars, the script for A Fistful of Dollars is very much based on Yojimbo, and the studio were having copyright problems, so it wasn't released in the States until 1967. And then the other two movies he made with Sergio Leone, For a Few Dollars More and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and in my opinion The Good, the Bad and the Ugly belongs in the top 10 best westerns ever made. Regardless of spaghetti westerns or regular westerns, it belongs in that top 10. They were released in quick succession, and by then Clint Eastwood was a global superstar, of course, and someone who many years earlier had more or less been counted out by the film industry. They said he was told at varying times he'd never be a film actor because he didn't have the looks. And although Clint Eastwood was a very handsome man, if you look at the late 50s and early 60s, he didn't have that look of a traditional movie star. And they also said he talked too slow and tended to mumble. Eastwood, of course, turned that low gut growl into something of a trademark. And it's now, if anyone else does that kind of thought, they think they're channeling Clint Eastwood. But going back to the album he made, as I say, it wasn't unusual. I mean, another Sheb Woolley, who played Pete Dolan, Scout in Rawhide, was also a very good singer, but he was an established country singer before he did Rawhide, and he released an album related to his role in Rawhide, and that was successful. The Clint Eastwood movie, the Clint Eastwood album, Clint Sings Cowboy, Favorites, this didn't actually chart, so in terms of sales it was a bit of a flop, but it's a very important historical artifact nowadays, and a lovely photo of Clint on there dressed as Rowdy. Just bring that to the camera so you can see that quite clearly. Lovely photograph. Clint Eastwood is one of my idols. Clint has got musical talent. I mean, he's an accomplished pianist. That much is well known. And he loves roots blues music. He likes jazz music, and he's written film scores for several of his movies. Play Misty for Me, notably. He played a country singer suffering from tuberculosis in Tonk Man, which I think is one of Clint's most underrated movies. I think it's a masterpiece and it really should be better known. And one day I'm going to do a review of that movie here on The Tainted Tavern because I love Honky Tonk Man. But I did some research, and Clint has actually sang in several of his movies. I've written them down here. So Honky Tonk Man 1982 is the most... where he sings the most, because the character he's playing, Red Sovine, is a country singer suffering from tuberculosis. Paint Your Wagon, of course, from 1969, the musical that Clint did with Lee Marvin. He sings several songs in that, most notably If I Could Talk to the Trees. Was it If I Could Talk to the Chair? No, If I Could Talk to the Chair was a later thing. We're not going to talk about that today. Bronco Billy from 1980. Clint did a duet with country legend Merle Haggard, and that was Barroom Buddies, and that actually went to #1 in the charts over here in the UK, and I believe it was a #1 hit in the US as well, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. I should have looked that up before. Any Which Way You Can, Clint did a duet with Ray Charles. City Eat, Clint sang the vocals for the closing song Montage Blues. And in Gran Turismo, I didn't know this, but in Gran Turismo from 2008, Clint sings the song Gran Turismo over the end credits. So it's just a little interesting departure, isn't it, from, you know, who we imagined Clint Eastwood to be. And I mean, the man's now in his 90s, and by all accounts, he's retired. I mean, he deserves a long retirement. I think Clint is probably my favourite living star. And he's one of the few actors, I think, who actually was just as accomplished as a director, because there are a lot of actors who've moved from in front of the camera to behind the camera to direct, but Clint, I mean, he's an Oscar-winning director, isn't he? You know, so the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Anyway, that's just a quick video talking about Clint and Rawhide's Clint Eastwood Sings Cowboy Favorites. It's a great little album, and unless you, and you know, when you actually play it, you will be shocked at how well Clint can carry a tool. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's no Elvis Presley, but he's a pretty fine little singer. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share this video, because you know it makes sense, punk. And come back soon to the Tainted Tavern.
Please come.